Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon. Today I'm going to be talking about the best Bruiser jungler in Wild Rift right now, which is Wukong in my opinion. I would say overall he's probably a top 3 or 4 jungler in the game. I would say that Amumu is definitely better, and you could maybe say that something like Zed could be better, but I would say he might even be the second best jungler in the game, and the best like Bruiser overall. But yeah, we're just kind of going to go into this gameplay, talk about sort of the main decisions we made, and what makes Wukong rather really strong right now. So here we start blue side because I want to path towards like a very winning lane, which Caitlyn Melio is like a really good lane matchup into Varus Alistar. They should typically have the advantage there. So I want to path towards that to see if I can get any type of gank off, or at least I can have prio to contest Scuttle or something like this. And of my 2 Wukong games that I did play yesterday, this is definitely the one that's more messy, has more mistakes as well. So we'll see a lot more mistakes that we'll kind of talk about why I made them or like what went wrong and that type of thing as well. But again, we'll just kind of skip through the jungle clear since it's obviously pretty straightforward. We're going for all 6 camps. Typically, I'll see a lot of lower elo junglers not do 6 camp clears. They'll just clear like 3 to 5 camps and then look for a gank. But for me, and especially for a champion like Wukong, you really want to be ganking on level 5, and you can't really get level 5 unless you get all 6 camps and you get the Scuttle. Unless you're very late into the game, then you could only do it without getting the Scuttle. But getting that level 5 is really the main objective of Wukong within the first 2 minutes or so. And so that's exactly what we're doing. Getting that ult gives us an opportunity to get a really guaranteed gank off, whereas if we did end up going for just some random gank at level 2 or level 3, level 4, whatever, we don't really have access to all of our kit that allows us to get good ganks off. Now here, we kind of look for something, we realize there's not really anything, and so because there's not anything too quick looking, that we could really get, we just go topside, decide to go for Scuttle instead. We clear Scuttle, and then after clearing Scuttle, again, I go back to looking for one mid gank because I don't have all of my camps up yet. On my blue side, nothing really works out. We weren't really expecting it to actually work. We're just seeing if we could do something and getting a first strike proc. And then we just go right back to farming again. And so you're going to see this early game is pretty much just me farming. Like, I wanted to see if I could find any ganks, so I gave myself 2 gank opportunities. The first one was after killing Scuttle. When I got level 5, I looked for bot lane. Turns out nothing was there. Second opportunity was after killing the topside Scuttle, where again, all of my blue side camps had not yet spawned, and I gave myself a chance to gank. Neither of those ganks ended up working out, which is totally fine. Like, a lot of people will try to overforce kind of ganks and stuff like that, but there's not really a need. Now in this situation, my teammates are winning lane pretty hard here at this point, and for that reason, I'm just going to go and get plates. Wukong pushes turrets really fast, and so I'm totally fine with skipping my red buff for a little bit in order to help my team get 3 plates and get the gold off of that, and then get enough gold for my Trinity Force, and then I can still just go and get my red buff right here after I recall, as you can see. And then I decided to go for a dragon because my dual lane are doing well, so it makes sense to play around kind of your lane that's doing better here. Now, this is where you're going to see kind of my first real mistake here, and that is my Zoe gets caught, and I still decide to kind of hard contest the dragon. So obviously I'm going to contest wherever the enemy don't go because my mid laner's dead. But in this case, their Yasuo is already 5,000 gold. He's super fed in the early game. And I decided to continue to contest, even though it's a 3v3. Obviously, my reasoning is like their jungler wasn't here. I unfortunately do not W over the wall. I was trying to W over the wall, but I did not click my button properly. And then I get even greedier here and go for the steal. So overall, I just overforced when one of my teammates made a dumb play and died. And you kind of have to realize, like in solo queue, a lot of your teammates are going to make dumb mistakes, like dying in mid lane randomly, or these types of things. And when you overforce like I did there, you're usually just going to make the loss even worse. Now, if you die as well, you go behind, and it's not just your teammate making the mistake, now it's you as well. So I got really greedy trying to overforce because their jungler was topside, and I wanted to get something out of it. But the reality is, it was just a dragon. It didn't really matter if I, got it or not. So that's kind of a mistake a lot of people make. But again, I'm just going to go back to farming once again. Like, Wukong as a champion, he's definitely a really strong early game champion, but he has really good assassination potential even later in the game. So if I'm farming efficiently, I'm still going to have the ability to one-shot the enemy, to, make good plays in the team fights, everything like that. So I'm not too worried still. Obviously, it looks hard, and the game is going to be hard, but overall now we just need to cover the mid lane since they did get our turret. And so yeah, game not really going well early game. We're mostly focused on farming. And then we want to use that second dragon opportunity as a time to push on the opposite side of the map and get some gold or turrets there. That's usually going to be the best comeback timer, as I've talked about so many times on my stream. And then again, we can just play to stop the bleeding, so I can try to cover For example, here, when I know they're probably going to try to dive or gank my teammate, so I might as well look for something to protect them. Alistar ends up going way too deep, and then we use our ult timing really well there. I knew he was going to stun me, and when I saw that his stun got built up, I ulted right away so that I'd still be damaging him as I was stunned, which allowed me to get that kill there. And then at this point, you see, again, my mid laner not in mid lane, so I'm going to take their wave. My top laner is dead, and for those reasons, I'm just covering waves now at this point. Instead of going towards my red buff, that's the only camp that I have up. It makes more sense to make sure we don't lose this entire turret, and that I get this additional gold. I'm trying to wait until 7 minutes and 30 seconds to kill these last couple of minions so that I can get the full gold from them, as you see there. And then now we can get this second wave. And so these two waves got me more gold than my red buff, and obviously I'm still going to be able to go get my red buff after. So this is kind of an important concept as a jungler, is like covering your lanes, especially when your teammates are losing, because you're going to have a lot of extra gold that they're kind of going to bleed out, either because they're just not very efficient or because they are you know, dead and can't farm and that type of thing. So using that to get a little bit of gold. And then now again, I'm in a position to cover this dive right away. Again, I show myself with the vision thing, or with the teleport thing, so the enemy can't really do too much. And then again, we're just trying to play opposite side of the enemy jungle as much as possible since my team is behind. So I'm just seeing if I can get any type of advantage out of it. For example, an invade might work out, because I don't know if his, you know, I see his blue buff is spawning, and I know he just showed topside. So it wouldn't have been a bad idea to try to look for one of his blue camps, like a Gromp or something like that. Just because there's a decent chance that it would be up, but we see here it's not actually up yet, and now we're just kind of looking for some type of camp to, like, you know, catch someone out, again, because we're just trying to make a play on the opposite side of the map. That is kind of the main goal that we're looking for, is just like play again away from the enemy jungle. Once we see them coming, we should probably back off a little bit. Don't need to be overly aggressive, but if we see an opportunity to go in, we can, of course, just like go in, because you can just see the burst damage here from Wukong. Like, you see that damage onto the Gragas already, and he's like a relatively tanky champion, but we have a pretty insane amount of burst. And then you'll see here again in a second, we end up finding an angle onto their squishy Varus, pretty much one-shotting him from like 60% HP, and then getting that big ult off as well. So the ult is like a really good way after you go in to escape, and also obviously get some damage off on people, but it kind of knocks them up briefly to the point that they can't really chase you down, which is why Wukong is just such a good assassin. You know, you go in with your invisibility, with your second ability, and you pretty much one-shot someone, and then you can get out really easily with your ult. Typical combo is going to be something like second ability, third ability, and then click your first ability mid-air, and then auto attack right away when you get on them, and then you ult right away after that to to get kind of the maximum damage combo off. So that's usually what you're going to be looking for on Wukong. But obviously you can use your first ability as an auto attack reset for more damage, but it's obviously a bit slower to get off as well. And so here is where you see me going for the top lane. Rather than contesting the dragon, I just go top side, I farm my camps, I farm a top wave, I farm another top wave, I got this turret here. Obviously I'm skipping through because, you know, you don't need to watch me hit minions and whatever. But at this point, I'm 2-1-1, their jungler's 3-1-5, and I'm slightly ahead of him in gold, even though his team's doing much better and all of that. And a lot of that is just because we came back through going, again, to the opposite side of the second dragon, using that as a comeback opportunity. And now I'm just continuing my farm. You see me taking mid waves, again, taking your teammates' waves when you're in a game like this that's not going well, when your teammates aren't covering them anyways. It just makes a lot of sense. Like, even here I can go to a top lane wave if I wanted, where we see that rumble. Now here I end up going more for a fight. Honestly, probably just should have gone to the top wave right away, but instead we end up going for the Gragas. We find an opportunity to make him force his flash out, and then here we're just in 3 people. That sounded kind of weird, but you know what I mean. And they're all really low. My champion, again, is really hard to actually fully kill, because the second ability, mobility, just allows me to kind of just maneuver around in fights, poke them out. And then this is a really important timer as well. So the first really important timer of the game was that second dragon going to the opposite side of the map. And then the second one is here, where we ended up forcing the enemy out. We got them really low, all of them like below half health, but none of them actually died. And so in a game like this where we're very behind, we do want to force a random Baron at some point if the enemy are in, you know, are they out of position, they show on the other side of the map, or they're low, or they have to recall. And so we know the enemy are low enough health that they'll have to recall, or else we'll be able to kill them. But if they recall, then we're going to have enough time to get Baron. So we're basically making them have an impossible choice. It's either they stay, they try to prevent the Baron, but then they just die because we'll turn on them, or they recall and we get a Baron for free. And this is a game where we're down, I think, 4,000 or 5,000 gold at this point. So it makes a lot of sense to make this kind of riskier play for the Baron. And we also try to stay off the vision cone initially so they can't actually see us, as you saw with that. So they actually didn't even see us doing this initially until pretty late. And Gragas, again, you saw was low from the fight previously to the point that he wasn't able to get it. Luckily, Varus didn't steal that. That would have been sad if he did. And then we go onto the Varus as well afterwards. And we end up killing him. And then for some reason, I decide, hey, let's go die to the Rumble. I don't know why I decided that. That wasn't a very good decision. So if you guys can take anything away from this video, don't randomly walk into a Rumble and die for no reason. That's not a good thing to do. I know you saw me do it, so now you're thinking, well, Talon never makes mistakes, so I should probably do that. And you're normally right. I usually don't ever make any mistakes, but this was one of the rare times where I was lagging. Obviously, it was just lag. I mean, I would never do that on purpose. But yeah, either way, we got the Baron, starting to come back a bit. I'm about 500 gold or 450 gold from my item. So the main thing is I just want to farm. I want to make sure I'm getting that item, which is exactly what we do. But because our team is going pretty aggressive and we have the Baron, there's no reason to recall quite yet for my item, just because we want to take advantage of the last little bit of Baron that we have, which is about 25 seconds left. And so we want to get this additional turret. Obviously, squeezing the extra turrets out of our Baron is going to be the way that we're going to actually stage a comeback in a game that we're otherwise kind of losing. I'm looking for a random burst damage combo onto Gragas. And then you can also just see how fast you push turrets. So, I mean, that's another thing that makes Wukong really strong, is how fast you can push the turrets. Definitely a very useful thing as a jungler to be able to, like, you get a gank off, then you can get a couple plates or take down a turret, that type of thing. But yeah, I mean, now at this point, main thing we're looking for in fights is just, like, make some type of initiation, since I'm the main kind of engaged champion. And then go under the squishy champions to the best of my ability. Like, that's usually what you're looking for as Wukong. A lot of times is to kind of one-shot the squishy champions. But you also have the ability to engage as a frontline, like if you need to, right? If your team's not as tanky. So he's very versatile. That's obviously what kind of makes him the best Bruiser jungle in the game, is he can play like an assassin, he can play like an engaged champion. He can play pretty much however you want. So that's really what I like about him. That's why I generally like Bruiser junglers as well, more than like assassins or tanks or that type of thing. But when it comes to this fight, we're pretty much just trying to zone them up. We have complete control of this, so we're looking for an assassination, anything like that. And then we just want to make sure we get the dragon, because they do have 2 dragons, so we want to deny that soul. But for some reason, Alistar goes in for no reason, so we're able to get a pretty easy engage off here, as you can see, and then we're just able to alt flash onto their entire backline, making their game pretty much impossible, and pretty easily winning the fight. So again, pretty straightforward the way you want to play this champion as well. It's like, you farm until level 5, you get level 5, look for a gank. Either the gank works out or it doesn't matter. You recall, you go back to your original camps. You can find a quick gank before your camps come up, and then once your camps come up, again, you just farm those until the objective. Then you choose the objective of your stronger laner. If your top laner's doing well, you go Herald. If your dragon lane's doing well, you go Dragon. Make a simple play around that. You know, hopefully you win the fight. Obviously, don't overforce if your team is just kind of losing. Then you're just kind of farming up, playing around turrets, playing around protecting your turrets, getting gold from waves. You go on that second dragon. If you're ahead, you fight the second dragon. If you're behind, then you're going to just go opposite side of second dragon. Pretty much as straightforward as that in the early to mid game. And then obviously late game, you know, you're just kind of playing as, if you saw my late game guide, you know, you're pretty much following all of those tons of tips and stuff. Here we wanted to force the Baron, but then we realized their respawn timers were too short, and I didn't want to randomly throw the game for no reason. Even though it's kind of fun to do that sometimes, I decided maybe not today, and instead we just recalled and went back to farming. Now that the game is a lot more even, there's not really a reason to flip like a Baron or anything, because we're in a position where we can just win naturally through fighting. So that's just what we're going to really do, you know, is just look for some type of fight. And again, I mean, my champion at this point, I'm 15k gold. Pretty much just looking to one-shot someone. And here I'm tanky enough at this point where if they go on me like that, I'm perfectly fine with it. Then I end up looking for some type of flank angle, just seeing if I can kind of, you know, push them into my team. This way they're kind of pressured, like they can't really walk into my team, because then I'll just, you know, pinch them from behind. But if they end up like going on me, obviously my team would easily follow up as well. So just kind of, again, just waiting for that perfect engage opportunity, and that's where Gragas ends up dying. He ends up just overextending. We're able to get a huge ult off, get a bunch of damage onto everyone. And even though we die, my team's definitely strong enough where, you know, getting that much damage off on the fight is going to be enough where we're going to win the fight pretty hard. And so we end up killing 4, I believe. Yasuo is kind of the main problem, as we saw, like even in the early game, the Yasuo was super strong. But overall, obviously we're in a good spot at this point. Now the main thing is just we want to get towards that Elder Dragon, get the Elder Dragon, and then use the Elder to get the Baron, which then we'll skip forward. That's exactly what we do. We also bought TP because of the fact that I was dead right when an Elder was spawning. So that's an important thing to note, is the teleport buy, allowing me to end up getting this dragon for free. And then now, I mean, obviously just forcing a fight with dragons, pretty straightforward. That's exactly what we're going to do. We're just going to kind of flash onto someone, I think. We go on to Rumble, then we flash onto the Gragas. And I think we end the game here. We didn't even need to get the Baron. So yeah, we just end the game there. Wukong, again, overall an insanely strong champion, so thought I'd show you guys a gameplay of him. I think I will be playing some more jungle for like maybe a day or two, because I got a little bored of mid lane. I don't know though. You know, I kind of changed my mind a lot. It's sort of what I do. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.